If you want to support the show, the best way you can is through any of the books or current ongoing Vela shorts that are being released on a regular basis. The easiest way to find this is to go to bit.ly/tmrbooks, and you'll have links there to everything. All of my Kindle books are available for free. If you have Kindle Unlimited, you don't have to pay anything. You get it with your subscription. You can read them all. They're all in screenplay format. That includes Swan Song, The Muses, Duet, In the End, Our Past Does Not Define Us. Anything else that I've written that's available on Kindle, it's available there. You can buy a soft cover if you want. There's a hardcover collection of all of the Swan Song books, all combined into one. That's available as a hardcover. You can pre-order Echo Alpha, which is coming out in November. All of these things are available if you go on Amazon. But, quick link, if you go bit.ly/tmrbooks, I have them all there, nice, easily cataloged. Also, down toward the bottom, we have the Kindle Vela content. The first 3 episodes are always free, and then after that, there's a token system that you can use to read. Even if you don't like it, just give it a thumbs up. That way we can get it up higher so more people see it. So one final time, that's bit.ly/tmrbooks, and every Wednesday there's a new Vela book that goes up. Taser and Acrobat, Nanite and Rosebud, Tales from Another World, and The Alchemist and the Illusionist. All go up on Wednesdays, and it's all available on Kindle Vela. All of this is available bit.ly/tmrbooks. Sorry to overload the front, but before we start, one final thing. If you can please go on Apple Podcasts, if that's how you listen, and give us a 5-star rating, that would mean a lot. We're trying to get on to Rotten Tomatoes and sites like that, and we need to get more reviews to be accepted. So if you can go on and give us a 5-star review there, that would be amazing. Thank you very much. We appreciate everything you guys do when you listen. This week on 30-Minute Reviews, Misinformation from Lucasfilm. Multiverse has been officially revealed, and some other important information this week on 30-Minute Reviews. Welcome to 30-Minute Reviews. I am Adam. Let's start out with 2 stories of misinformation, the first of which gained a lot of traction, the second of which broke today, and is, I would say, also misinformation, and I'll explain why. So the first one is 2 parts of kind of the same multifaceted stupidity. First and foremost, let me give you a little bit of backstory. So, quite a few Star Wars movies have had a lot of directors go through them. And, like, Solo, I think every single director has been attached to Solo at some point prior to its release with Ron Howard. Even going so far as to fire Lord and Miller midway through production, which jacked up the price of making that movie. So there have been creative differences at Star Wars in the past. And that's been kind of the thing pointed to Kathleen Kennedy as a failure on her part. So last week, when we talked about how the Rogue Squadron movie was indefinitely delayed due to Patty Jenkins' pre-existing commitments, not pre-existing conditions, it wasn't confirmed as to why it was happening, but, I mean, I guess a lot of people, myself included, were just like, here's what it should be. It's like Warner Bros. Is like, hey, we need Wonder Woman 3, and what we need is, like, we have Gal Gadot, and she just had a kid, so she probably just wants to get this over with and, get this done with and go on with her life. And, like, we broadly have a bunch of other stuff. We want to finish out the trilogy. I know from the standpoint of someone who has written trilogies before, once you're in it, you're like, well, let me just finish this up now and get done with it. Not in a rush through it kind of way, but in a, I'm in that headspace, let me continue there, and opening up an entire new can of worms in Star Wars is a big commitment. So I kind of figured that it was just like, let me just finish off Wonder Woman and then go back and do this after. We'll move everything around. And that seemed like what it was, because it's like, you know, it didn't match with what was said to be what was going on, where it's like, if it's creative differences, they tend to part from the project and not like, oh, and Patty Jenkins is leaving. And then there's the other issue with this whole thing, where if we look broadly at like Patty Jenkins' experience at Disney subsidiaries, I'm in the loudest fucking parking lot on the planet, apparently. If we look at her experience with other subsidiaries of the Walt Disney Company, she was previously on Thor: The Dark World and left or was fired from Thor: The Dark World. Which is why Natalie Portman phones in her performance, because she was pissed off about that. And I think that, like, if you're going to rehire her, number one, Kevin Feige's working closely with Lucasfilm to create a movie at some point in the future. It doesn't make sense to me that it wouldn't be like, oh, hey, by the way, if you're going to hire this director who does her thing, don't treat her like shit, because we did that once and let's not do that again. That's stupid. So Rogue Squadron being delayed over creative differences and micromanagement from Lucasfilm feels like a fill-in-the-blanks answer that, was kind of filled in by certain people who don't like the direction Lucasfilm has taken. Now, on top of that, that was not reported on by any of the trades. And when I say reported on by any of the trades, I mean The Hollywood Reporter, I mean Deadline, I mean Entertainment Weekly, I mean any of those major publications that have actual sources and aren't just some guy sitting behind a computer speculating blindly about what's going on in the world. And I think that that's a pretty important distinction to make. Because unless it's reported on by a trade, you can't really take it as, anything vetted. Because they have actual verified sources. Like, Variety's been around for as long as Hollywood's been around. It is the industry trade. And there is no sign of it, being accurate. Now, that, however, was taken as gospel by a bunch of people. It's like, oh, this is true, this is true, this is true. Then came the second story, which is Kathleen Kennedy, whose contract is up after this year, or is up shortly, or her contract is going to be up, or is expired. They do not currently have, she hasn't been signed on for a new, fuck me. What the fucking spam calls? Everything's fucking loud today. Her contract is not, is not currently under, it's not current to the point where it's like we don't have to worry about it. I think she's up for an option or an extension at the end of this year, if not right now. And there were reports that she has signed an extension through 2024. Now, this, like the first story, was not covered by any of the trades. This is just a story that was broken by someone with quote-unquote inside information. But Collider did report on it, so I'm inclined to believe it. But the thing that really struck me was how people were like, well, the trades haven't reported on this, so let's not take it as fact. And it's like, here's the thing about Kathleen Kennedy as the head of Lucasfilm, if this is the case. If she is signed on for another extension, it shatters the narrative that has been created by the people who, the fandom menace, let's call them what they are, where they believe that, she's hated at Disney, she's hated at Lucasfilm, everyone hates her, she's not making money, it's a complete waste, and no one likes her. If this contract extension happens, then that means that that's all not true. Now, the flip side of that is, the woman is in her 70s. If she doesn't sign a contract extension, that's not a sign she was fired. That's a sign that she's in her 70s and has been producing movies going back to, like, Gremlins and Hook and, Back to the Future and Raiders of the Lost Ark. She's got quite the thick filmography to her name. Like, if she doesn't sign the extension, it's not proof that she's failed there. It's just, like, she's in her 70s and living on residuals. Like, that's quite the portfolio of films to live on residuals for the rest of your life. Like, if there's a golden parachute, that's like an unobtainium parachute is what she's got there. And it's like she's going to be, she's going to be fine if it doesn't re-sign it. And that's the thing too. It's she could just not re-sign it. And if they do sign her on and they convince her to come back, it's not an indication like it means that there's profound confidence at Disney over what she's doing. It's not, they're not going to do it, especially if they can promote someone like Filoni or someone else to oversee the studio. Number one, Kathleen Kennedy can demand a lot more money than Filoni can, which even if you were to switch out and go with a new, studio head, that would save you money in the budget. There's a lot going on that, from a financial standpoint, that doesn't really gel with what's going on. Speaking of Star Wars news, IDW is no longer doing Star Wars comics. They did some High Republic comics. They did Tales from Vader's Castle. They did a bunch of other comics. They're no longer doing it. Marvel is still doing Star Wars comics, but Dark Horse is getting the license back, which is, cool. Not a huge deal, but there will still be some comics happening outside of Marvel for Star Wars, and those are always pretty interesting. I like the High Republic one they're doing, and I did like Tales from Vader's Castle. 2 news items for things happening 2 weeks from now. Spider-Man No Way Home tickets go on sale on November 29th, Cyber Monday, so you'll be able to pick those up. And the Cliffs and Caves update for Minecraft will be hitting on November 30th. And that's the next huge update with biome expansion and all of that. I'm looking forward to trying that out, but we'll see how that goes. Another big story I want to address is MoviePass. MoviePass has been acquired from one of the founders. Basically what happened was, for those of you who don't know the story, MoviePass kind of came around like a while back, and it did this thing where it's like, we're going to lower our price to $9.99 a month. So then what happened was people started paying $9.99 a month to use MoviePass, and it was like, unsustainable business model, where it's like something like that. You have to hope people sign up and forget about it, but if someone's doing that, they're going to have it. And on top of it, it's like, because you can't do it through an app, you have to do it through like a physical card in your wallet. It's even if you're not on your phone, you are constantly reminded of this thing because you need to have a physical debit card to use it. So it fails. AMC, Regal, Showcase, all the major cinema chains start their own subscription services to do it, and things are going well. Now, one of the founders of MoviePass has rebought all the assets out of bankruptcy for under $250,000 and is attempting to relaunch the company. Fine. Here's the thing. I don't know where MoviePass fits into the existing cinema landscape. Because if I'm AMC, I'm not taking MoviePass because I have my own version of it. Like, I have my own, my own, subscription-based service where I can do, everything that I need to get this, to get people in the theater. I don't need an outside service to do that. And I think that's one of the fundamental disconnects where it's like, oh yeah, we're going to do this again, but like, what theater chain is going to do that? Are you going to partner with Fandango? Are you going to partner with local chains to do this? Like, that's the only way you can really do it, is if you partner with local chains. And even then, it's like, the chains aren't making money on the ticket sales, they're making money on concessions. So if I'm paying $9.99 a month, like, usually when I go to the movie theater, via AMC, that's where I usually go. Like, I'm going at least twice this weekend. I'm going for, if not King Richard 2, but I'm definitely going for, Come On, and I'm definitely going for Ghostbusters tomorrow. Like, at least one, if not both, if not all three, if I go 3 times, each time I go, I buy concessions, because that's where they make their money. They don't make their money at ticket sales, because the studio makes that money. So how does that impact? Because, like, what studio is going to partner, unless it's like, look, you get this, and then we'll pay for additional money. Like, are we going to contract with them? It's a sizable question that needs to be answered. and I don't think they're prepared to do that. MoviePass's, the giant Warner Brothers crossover game, has been officially announced. It is coming soon. It's a 2v2 free-to-play game. A lot of the characters we already discussed are already in it, so we'll see how that goes. Here's a news story that captured a lot of headlines. I don't think it really warranted capturing the number of headlines it did. On The Office in Season 8, if anyone's watched Season 8 of The Office, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about, even without going into the story. There's a character who's introduced as Pam goes away to be to give birth to her second child. I think in real life, Jenna Fisher was also pregnant, so she had to leave the show to go on maternity leave. But at the same time, it's like Pam was having another baby, so she left, and they hired a replacement, Kathy, to take her place. And Kathy really wanted to fuck Jim. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Like, Kathy really wanted to fuck Jim. No matter what happened, like, she just wanted to fuck Jim. That was the entire beginning and end of her character. She wants to fuck Jim. So, this appears to come to a head, and then the character vanishes after they go to Florida, where it's like she attempts to come on to Jim in his hotel room, and then she just kind of vanishes after that. And it's never really explained why that is, or anything like that. It's not important information. No one ever talked about her character again. It's almost as if she never existed. And we get some insight about why that's happening, where it appears that happened because John Krasinski refused to shoot the actual affair that was supposed to happen in the script. And I it's one of those things that when you watch it, you're like, oh, okay, I see how that happened. That makes sense to me. I understand. But it's not something that is going to earth-shatteringly change your viewing of The Office until you go back and look and you're like, oh, okay, they were building towards this. And then you can tell they added in reshoots information similar to kind of make her look like a crazed harpy and make Jim look better. It's kind of an interesting thing. Let me see what else I have on my news. They're doing a Harry Potter reunion. I could not care less. And this is what really sucks about Harry Potter as a franchise, is that I don't think there's a franchise that had the impact on anyone the way Harry Potter did, and then just completely fell off a cliff in terms of quality, where it's like, I watch Peacock, and they show advertisements all the time for Harry Potter, because they have Harry Potter on Peacock, and I'm like, I might go and watch it, but it's like, I have no interest to ever watch any of the Fantastic Beasts movies again. Like, I will watch any Harry Potter movie again. Like, I'll watch Prisoner of Azkaban, I'll watch Deathly Hallows Part 2, I'll watch Goblet of Fire, I'll watch Order of the Phoenix. I'm talking myself into doing it tonight when I gotta watch The Flash. But, I'll do it. I'll watch it. But, like, I have no interest in going back and being like, oh, look at how great we were. Like, I know, I watched it the first time. I don't need to do that. It's like the Friends reunion. I don't need to do that. What else do we have? Here's another specious rumor that appears to be bullshit, but I'm going to talk about it anyway because I want to dissect why it appears to be bullshit. So, Lovecraft Country got canceled after one season. I haven't watched it yet. I've heard mixed things. I've heard good things from some people. I've heard awful things from other people. I don't know how good the show is. So, that said, the show has gotten canceled. And, the rumor was like, oh, the ratings didn't warrant the budget the show had, so it got canceled, and that makes sense. And, then a report came out today that, oh, no, that's not true. According to a new book, Misha Green displayed poor behavior on set, and that's what led to the show being canceled. Now, let's take a step back and look at what that means. Okay, so if Misha Green was really treating the cast poorly and not doing, what a director should be doing or a showrunner should be doing or anything like that, they have a right to fire her. They don't cancel the show usually. They just fire the showrunner and get a new showrunner. Like, they did that on The Flash when they got rid of Andrew Kreisberg amid his misconduct allegations. So, like, it's not something that they really, it's not something they want to do, to be sure, but if the show is profitable, they'll find another way to do it. It won't be like, okay, the show, lives and dies with this one person. It's kind of a, it's a group. All filmmaking is a group effort. And to say that one person makes or breaks the entire show is dismissive of what other people's impact on the show is. So that's problem number one with this. Problem number two with this is Misha Green is currently heading up the Black Canary show for HBO Max. So she got fired from HBO for bad behavior, then got hired by DC, which is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers, which also owns HBO, on HBO Max, and they're doing a Black Canary show with the same lead as Lovecraft Country. It doesn't make sense. First of all, if the conditions on set were that bad, then Journey Smollett-Bell would not want to re-team with that person, I would assume. If she was really making life for the talent that hard, it just, none of it makes sense. It doesn't click, it doesn't sound right, it doesn't pass the smell test. So it seems like bullshit. Where it feels like someone who's trying to grind an axe. What else have we got? Dave Frischberg, who you may not know the name, but he had a profound impact all over, all over pop culture. He did all the music for Schoolhouse Rock. I'm Just a Bill, Conjunction Junction, Elbow Room. I'm just going through what I can remember off the top of my head, but he was the one who wrote all the music for that. He passed away at 88. That is, he's one of the people who, profound impact on pop culture. I don't know if we'll see someone else like that in our lifetime. He will be missed. We're going to wrap up the news with a new lawsuit against Disney, I guess by proxy, because it's technically against Fox, but Fox is now owned by Disney, so I guess it's kind of against Disney. The screenwriter for Bohemian Rhapsody, forgive me, I did not write down his name, he is suing Fox for unpaid fees. And the reason for that is he's supposed to get a residual based on percentage of profit. Now, if you're unfamiliar with Hollywood accounting does this weird thing where they basically constantly make the movie look like it's spending money to never actually turn a profit. So, if we look at, this movie made $911 million, reported by Variety, and yet is still $57 million in the red. That math for Bohemian Rhapsody does not line up. If you look at what that movie is and how it works and what it's about and all of that, it doesn't line up. How did that movie cost $911 million? Now you could say, the Oscar campaign, the marketing, marketing just doubled the cost, and if you want to add, another, triple the cost, the movie only had, if it had $100 million budget, that's a lot. But, this movie does, it's just fucking ridiculous. You can say that we did $911 million, and it still hasn't turned a profit. That's just bullshit, and we all know it. So hopefully he gets paid. Hopefully he gets what he earned, and that'll be good for him when he gets paid that money. And if he brings it to trial, we'll get to see how Hollywood accounting actually works, which will be a fun episode. One last discussion for today. I want to talk about the game Unpacking. I saw a review from Kotaku, and that was the thing that made me want to try this game out. I saw, really, they were talking about how zen it was, and then I saw the trailer. I'm like, oh, that's cute. And I bought it, and it's kind of fun. Maybe if you're trying to pick a game, maybe not $20 fun. Especially when there are other $20 games that may be more fun. But it's background storytelling. It's one of those things where it's you have this girl who is growing up, and you follow her life as she moves from place to place. And here's the thing too, the warning I'm going to give: if you have a Switch and you play it on the Switch, you're going to have a problem if you have Joy-Con drift like I do, and you don't have the money to replace your Joy-Con because it's expensive and it shouldn't be drifting the way it does, but it does, and you have to, use a cursor to point and click at little things, and you can probably do it with the touchscreen, but I haven't tried that. But it's a fun game, and you can tell the story as of this girl's life from as she moves from place to place, and it tells you the story of what she goes through, and it does it very well, and it is minimalist visual storytelling at its most pure. And I think in that kind of exercise, it's worth a play just to see it unfold. So it's definitely worth checking out, at least watching the trailer, if not playing the game outright. Unpacking, it's available on all major consoles. I think it's on Xbox Game Pass if you have an Xbox, but it's definitely on the Switch, definitely on PlayStation 4 and 5, definitely on PC. So definitely worth your time to check that out. So to wrap up, we have a few little announcements. This week begins the cluster fuck of it all, where it's like we have so much shit going on, like I'm gonna need a second toilet. So this weekend is a busy weekend. King Richard, I'm gonna have a Beware of Spoilers about. I'm gonna have a Beware of Spoilers about Come On, which is Joaquin Phoenix's new movie. I'm gonna have a Beware of Spoilers about Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm seeing that tomorrow night. I'm gonna have weekly starting this weekend. Beware of Spoilers about Wheel of Time. I'm going to have a Beware of Spoilers about, I forgot what the fifth thing is. Definitely fifth thing this weekend. Tick, Tick, Boom. That was the third one. So the Andrew Garfield movie that's getting a lot of acclaim, directed by Lin-Manuel Miranda. That's all this weekend. Then this week we have House of Gucci, Hawkeye Begins. We have, weekly, A Wheel of Time, Master Universe Revelation Part 2, Licorice Pizza. It's going to be a fun fucking week. So if you are not already on Beware of Spoilers and you want to hear my thoughts on new releases, you can go to bit.ly/TMRPC. That is the link that you can go to for both episodes of Beware of Spoilers and 30-minute reviews. And you can go on there and you can subscribe to both. It has links to where you can get it on whatever your preferred medium of listening to a podcast is. And yeah, so we have a lot going on, and that's why this episode came out so late. So we'll be back next week with more news, and we're going to be talking about movies. I have Criterion, and we're going to be talking about some Criterion movies next week. So we'll be back with that. Until then, have a great rest of your week. Do you like the show? Do you hate the show? Are you indifferent to the show? No matter what, you should probably let us know what we're doing so we can change it to better suit you, the listener's needs. You can go to either bit.ly/BOScontact, which is a contact form page you can use. Also, you can just email us directly at 30minutereviews@gmail.com. If you have questions that you would like us to answer, we can answer them on the air. We have a few questions every week that will be selected to be answered on air. So if you want to tell us what we should do, or if you have a suggestion for a movie or a TV show or something we should cover, go to bit.ly/BOScontact and also email us 30minutereviews@gmail.com.